Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rec Room Radio. I'm your host, Rectum, where we'll be talking about horror movies. Now, I saw a movie last week called Deadstream. It was a Shudder original movie from 2022, October 2022. It was really good. I really enjoyed this movie. It's about a disgraced social media influencer who just got remonetized, and his whole channel is about conquering his fears. And he said one of the biggest fears that he had was he wanted to spend the night in a haunted house, and he's going to use his stream back to do that. And I thought, and right away, I hated this guy. He's like everything you hate about social media influencers. And I'm like, he has like his whole intro to his show, how it starts, and then it starts off, he's at the house, and he's just acting obnoxious. But what I thought was really cool, and I didn't know until maybe the end of the movie when I noticed this, is that as soon as he gets to the haunted house, the whole movie is in real time. And I thought that was really cool. I like when movies do that, because he shows up and he's like, hey, we're at the haunted house, we're doing yada yada. He starts on the outside and he shows himself set up his whole production of what he's going to be doing that night. And he's talking about the history of the house, that there was this lady that lived there and she killed herself, and ever since then, all these other murders have been happening. And I thought it was really cool because he's got a POV camera so you can see what he sees, and then he's got a camera hanging off his shoulder so you can see his face, and he switches between the two as the movie goes on. But it's really cool because as he's setting up, it kind of has like a video game feel to it, because of the POV camera. And he'll be walking around and he pulls out his iPad, and you can see all the cameras he's set up so far, and he'll pull out a map or another tool, and it had a really survival horror video game feel going, and I really like video games. That was really cool to me. I enjoyed that. Another thing I liked about this movie, it was a very small production. And I like that in movies too. I like when small producers make movies, because it seems like the production is making movies because they love making movies, not specifically because they love making money. And I mean, the main character was credited in so many parts of the movie. He was credited in production, direction, writing, all that, and then he played the main character. And the cast list was very small, and I just really, really enjoyed that. The whole movie itself was just fun. It was really funny, but most importantly, it was scary. And I don't get scared at movies very easily, and all of the thrills but the thrills in this movie were really good, and it had a great way of making the movie funny, but not letting the humor ruin the thrills. And I thought that was really good. It had some very serious Evil Dead vibes. If you know, you know. Evil Dead is a really good movie, and Sam Raimi, I'm sorry. Ted Raimi's his brother. Sam Raimi made that movie, and he's really good at adding humor to his horror movies without lessening the thrills of it. I mean, just look at the Evil Dead series or anything he's done. And it felt really inspired by it, but it never felt like a ripoff. And I really enjoyed that. That's really good. So I have to commend the people who made this movie. I can't remember his name, and I wish I did, for doing a really good job at what they were doing. And the character development of the main character of it was probably the most important part to me, because he started off the movie as a big, somebody that you just love to hate. The only reason I'm watching this guy is because he sucks so bad. And then by the end of the movie, you're really just rooting for this guy. You really are hoping he's going to make it out of this. Because as the movie goes on, he becomes the whole deal with his show was overcoming his fears, and he really does do that, but he never sacrifices the character he was in the beginning of the movie, and he just becomes more than that. He never gets rid of him, he just becomes him better. And I think that's really good because, you know, a lot of people are just like, oh, by the end of the movie, he's a completely different character. No, he's not a different character. The guy's whole shtick is he's overcoming his fears. So he's a big scaredy cat like the whole time. And at the end of the movie, he's still a big scaredy cat. However, he's really like trucking through, muscling through by the end of the movie. And I thought that was really good. And just the whole aspect of the movie was very good. And I think it's definitely worth a watch. If you get Shudder, if you have Shudder, this is one that I would suggest watching. But if you don't have Shudder, I'm sure that you could rent it on Amazon. I haven't checked too much into that. But I think that it's definitely worth a watch. And I will probably be watching it again. Kind of wish that I watched it again before talking about this. But I watched it 2 weeks ago and I got sick. And I didn't want my first podcast to be about with a sick voice, you know, and I wasn't feeling well. So I had to take a break from it. So I really wish I had watched it again so that I was fresh and up to date about it. And it wouldn't have been a waste of time to do it because I enjoyed this movie so much. Another thing I liked about this movie is that it's just the foreshadowing always played out well. Everything he talked about ended up coming up again later. And I like in like horror movies, I liked in this horror movie, like in most horror movies, when people are in like a haunted house and they're like figuring stuff out, it takes like days, or they find everything that they need inside the house to help them figure out how to defeat things. Whereas him, because he was live streaming his whole experience, he could just say, oh, hey, chat, you know, help me figure this out. Can you translate this for me? And then, you know, they'd get back to him later and they would tell him what he needed to know to complete, you know, this, that, or the other thing. And I thought that was really cool. And I mean, like I said, the whole movie plays out in real time, so everything has to be done within a 90-minute span. So, I mean, he never, like, goes to sleep and wakes up the next day. The whole movie was a really fun watch, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who wants to watch a horror movie that's looking for a good time. And I know a lot of people online are talking about this movie right now. I don't know why it took a year to finally hear about this movie, but yeah, a lot of people are talking about it right now. So I jumped on, I looked at it. And yeah, it's worth all the talk. I mean, it's not like any big budget deal or anything like that. So it's more of like a sleeper hit, but everybody's talking about this sleeper hit, and I think that it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely worth all the talk, and you should go watch it if you're looking for a good horror movie to watch. And I'd like to thank you to listening to my very first podcast. I feel like I didn't have a whole lot of content going on here, but I'll be working on it. And from here on, I'm going to be trying to build upon this. And I'm going to be better every time, 1% better every time, you know. So please like, share, and subscribe if you can, if you liked it. And I'll talk to you next time. Thank you very much. And goodbye.